Hi you guys, this is Ginger Cook and it is story time today. You'll notice that each time we do a story time, so you don't get confused, we have a different picture of story time, so that changes all the time. But this is not a tutorial, though I will be painting, finishing up a painting that I started yesterday and starting, hopefully get another one finished of a couple of rowboats and a seagull. So the story today is going to be my experience during my life with boats and a couple of other fun tales that I hope you like. And in the meantime, remember, these paintings have been pre-sold. These are commissioned pieces and not a tutorial, but of course, we hope you enjoy watching how they progress and enjoy our story. So thanks for tuning in to our live shows, and let's just get started. All right, so.
Whoa, that one looks almost done. What happened?
I just have to put the final touches on the flowers. This is, was from John and I visited Santorini, Greece this year, and several other places in Greece. And this is this is just from our pictures in Greece. And it's nice and dry because I think that brush is bigger than I want. Let me get a smaller one. In order for me to put the light paint over, I needed the bottom color dry overnight. So you get to see me finishing up the final lights and darks on this. As I tell you the story about my experience with boats, well, some of you may know that I came from a family of, well, there were really more than 5 kids, but my mother had 5 that I'm aware of, though the gossip goes in the family there might have been another one way before us that was given up for adoption, but that's another story. But anyway, I was probably, when I was born, she was 41. My oldest brother, Dennis, was 10 years older than me. And so the tales I heard, my mom's husband and my brother's dad, maybe my dad too, it's hard to say, was a lot older than her. And he had quite a temper. I guess that would be the best way to explain it. He had quite a temper. And the stories that the boys tell about him are kind of sad, my brothers. But there's one family story that gets passed down, was that when my brother was, oldest brother, Dennis, was 5 or 6, 5 or 6 maybe, they had a property out on Three Tree Point, it's a summer house out on Three Tree Point in Washington State, on the Sound, Puget Sound. And for his birthday, for my brother's birthday, Dennis got something extremely, he got a cap gun. Do you guys remember those, the old cap guns? Did you have a cap gun, John?
Absolutely.
You know, and then he got some cowboy chaps, because of course you remember that Hopalong Cassidy and that stuff was very popular in those days, and the movies about them in the West. And then he also got a cowboy hat. And then the final prize was my dad took him down to the boathouse, and there, sitting out on the boat, in the dockhouse, was a brand new rowboat with my brother's name on it. Beautiful rowboat for 2 people. And in the rowboat was a life jacket for both my dad and my brother, or maybe just my brother. There was a life jacket. And so my dad, told him to put the life jacket on. And you just got a new cowboy hat and the chaps and the vest. He had the vest too. He had the whole outfit, the whole outfit. You girls know about having the whole outfit, right? And the idea of putting a life jacket over that and spoiling the look, he didn't want to do it. I understand. The little kid didn't want to do it. Nope. And anyhow, so my dad, just him and him, then rowed out into the Sound without the life jacket. They rowed out not too far from the dock. And then my dad tipped the boat over. And
the old learning experience.
My brother's 5'6". He's in the boat. He's in the water, terrified. And of course, his cowboy hat just floats away. And nobody made any effort to get it either. And his cap guns are ruined, chaps, and he's sopping wet and crying. And my dad says, when I tell you to put on a life jacket, you say, yes, sir. Now, some people would consider this tough love, and I get that, don't you, John? I mean, you don't want the kid drowning. You tell him to wear a life jacket. You want to make the point, and I understand why he did it. But
yeah, but there's other ways to do that same lesson.
There's other ways to do. Of course, there's other ways to do that, right? And so those were the kind of things. And he had such a temper, my father. I was a year old when he died. Not even quite. He died that Christmas. So a lot of people don't. They wouldn't guess that he was like that. But just to take it a little bit further, I didn't spend a lot of time. My brothers and I didn't grow up together, so I remember that. Though I do remember there was one story. My brother Jensen, who was 3 years, he was 7 years younger than my brother, the youngest, and he didn't look like my father at all. He did not look like, my oldest brother was beautiful brown eyes and dark hair, very handsome child, just gorgeous kid. And my brother Jay had those same kind of features. And my brother Jensen, however, sadly, that wasn't. He didn't look like the other two. He really was the cuckoo in the nest. My father couldn't stand him, and he knew it. And so when he was told that, and couldn't stand him to the point where that when he was told that his father had died, and he was a little kid then, he was like, 6 or 7. Because I was a year, and then my sister was 3 years, so he might have been 5 or 6. And his comment was, does that mean he's never coming back? And my brother said, yes, that's what it means. And he said, his comment was, oh, good. That's how much he, found this man tough to be around, okay? So, but anyway, my brothers, we lived in Seattle. Seattle is a city with water and lakes and things. And Washington State, there's sounds and there's stuff, right? So my brothers had boats growing up, and they shared one. They had one boat, and I don't think I ever rode on it. I don't think I ever got to go. But they named it Vendetta, the Vendetta. And then they had Vendetta 1 and Vendetta 2, I think, until they finally got old enough where they had their own boats. But there were a lot of, as we got older, there was some water skiing and that kind of stuff on the lakes. And my brothers were older. They all managed to, buy boats. And they liked boating people. My parents had friends that had boats, the judge and his wife. And they would, they would go out on judges get like a month off vacation in those days. They'd get at least a month off. So it would not have been uncommon for them to have gone boating with friends. So they did that, and my dad liked to fish, and they would go down to a place called Hood's Canal and fish. And I don't remember, they ran a place. I only went one time. In all the years, I was probably about 15 or 16, I got invited to go fishing. Other than that, my dad only took the boys. He never took me. I don't remember ever going anywhere with him to do anything. We went to summer camp where there were boats, like it was called Four Winds Summer Camp, and there definitely were boats there. And we went to, let me just move this up to put that away. And the big factor, we had but I was never a boat person. I just, I don't know, maybe the fact that at camp they had you had to swim at least 200 yards without a life jacket in really cold, really cold, horrible water, which is enough to put anybody off not wanting to do that. And so again, it's like I say, I was never just a big fan of boating. I'd go, somebody had a boat, but I didn't care, and I didn't mind water skiing. And when Cinnamon was born, a couple years after that, Cinnamon's grandmother, Colby's mom, moved to Lake Havasu City, Arizona. So we got a boat that was an inflatable boat, like Jacques Cousteau had, remember? And we could carry it on top of the motorhome. We had a kind of a neat rack that would put it up there. And we did a lot of water skiing. The problem with the stuff that Colby did was that he would take a sport and run it into the ground. It could have been fun to just go down there for a week or two, but we did it so much that it wasn't fun anymore. It just almost became, how can you have a job water skiing? But that's how it kind of felt to me when we were doing that stuff. Felt like too much of a job, not enough water skiing, just too much having to, and then you couldn't, because Cinnamon was too low. When you go water skiing, what they have to do is you have to hold up a flag to let other people know you have a water skier in the boat. Do you remember that, John?
Yep.
You have to have a flag. And the problem was Cinnamon was too little to hold up a flag. So we would go to cruise the beaches in our boat and ask people if anybody wanted to go water skiing with us, if they'd hold the flag. We always found somebody, okay, some girl or somebody that was happy to go with us, okay. But that was sort of that was kind of it wasn't just sort of, it was a pain to do it. But we had a good time. We did have a good time. We did that, and anyway, so we had our share of boating, but I just not for me. One thing we did was really fun was did you ever do this, John? Where we got so tired we got so good at water skiing that to do the one ski, Colby could walk up and down on the one ski while when it was his turn to ski. We got pretty good at it, and then we got a rubber raft and we tied it to it and would spin people behind the boat with this rubber raft. And it would spin them in circles, and you'd have to hang on, and you'd be laughing so much you just have to hang on till you fell off. That was the whole fun thing about it. I don't know. Maybe somebody else wouldn't think that was so fun, but quite frankly, we really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, we did that.
That was fun. So it was fun, but again, 2 months down in Lake Havasu City, and then there was. He always just overdid it. It's just couldn't just do it and have a good time. You just had to. He had to again, like I say, overdo everything a little bit. But that was Colby. You know, it didn't matter what we were doing. He would just do it so much till you just got sick of it. And it just, you know, when recreation began, particularly when you don't work and recreation becomes a job, that's a problem. So, but again, going into Lake Havasu and swimming was fun. And then, of course, I try to think of the, you know, the boat. So we had that, and then my parents got a boat one year. The judge wanted his own boat. So I remember them getting one. And he spent an awful lot of time in the wintertime going down and making sure the boat didn't sink, pumping out the bilge, as he called it, after work. He sold it the next year. We did it one time. And the only time they came from camp, summer camp. I was up at summer camp, and they took me out of camp on the boat for a few days, just as a kind of a treat. They thought I'd enjoy being on their boat. And you'd think in theory that would have been fun, right? So one of my favorite things was digging for clams. I loved clams. And the tide was out, and we had, my dad didn't know the first thing about driving a boat. He was a judge. And so we ended up kind of marooned on the beach when the tide came out where we'd parked. And I remember getting up and going and digging for clams, which was a lot of fun. I liked that. And then they had a little rowboat. So then I got on the rowboat and told them I should have that. And so I went out in the rowboat and rowed around the sound a little bit, just playing, because I had learned how to do that at camp. Okay? Good things, you know, all these good things, you know. Maybe I was showing off a bit, I don't know. But I wanted to be in the rowboat. I was very independent. I was probably 10. And the oars broke. And you're going, oh no. And they're going, oh yeah, the oars broke. Yeah, yeah, the oars broke. And the bad thing about that was that my boat started to drift out into the main channel, and they didn't have any way to save me. And I kept screaming for help. And they were just stuck on the beach. They couldn't come get me, you know. And luckily, a fisherman heard me screaming after about 20 minutes, and I was almost out to sea. I mean, beyond where I was easily rescued. And anyway, he came and I did get rescued, but not easily. So I don't know. Just boats and me were, you know, not my favorite thing I'm doing, but you know, not really a. How would you say that? I'm just not really a boat person. Is that a good way to say that, John?
Yep.
Just not a boat person.
You're not a boat person.
Though I do like cruising.
That's a boat, you know.
And you know, that's a different kind of boat.
It's a big boat.
John was afraid he wouldn't be able to do cruising because he gets seasick really easily.
Just looking at the water.
Just looking at the water, he gets seasick. And but he found on a big sailing ship, see, not on these small ones like the Viking and stuff, you know, if they go out in open water. We had some friends that were, you know, a friend that one of their friends went out and did a transatlantic on a Viking and, you know, over to Hawaii, or wasn't it, I guess it's Pacific, went to Hawaii on one of the smaller ships, and they don't have the stabilizers that the
big boys have.
The other, you know, the big boats have, so that a lot of times if you don't even know, when you're on a cruise ship, you don't even know if the boat's going, if you didn't look out the window, You'd think you hadn't left port. That's how smooth it is. Honestly, people don't believe us, but that's absolutely how smooth it is when you're talking about, you know, cruising. And so John and I are, you know, big fans of cruising for that reason. And I mean, we love cruising, and you know, and that's a really fun thing to do. It can get. I know this sounds kind of weird, but boy, depending on your cruising depends on what you like to do for fun. See, John and I are not music people. Our idea of a good afternoon is not going down and listening to some band play music or guess name that tune or.
We're good at that.
Even trivia, we're not. So we don't. A lot of the things that they have to do on ships, we don't do them. We just don't. So I don't know. I guess the idea is that just sitting here doing my lights and darks again. You know, sometimes when you're painting, your white dries a little bit gray. Maybe your brush wasn't clean. So I'm putting the dramatic lighting back in this. Anyway, but so the kind of things that John and I like to do on our ship, on a ship, is to we get up in the morning and we go into about 11, and then we go to the windjammer on a Royal Caribbean ship. That would be their
the dining area.
The dining area, kind of a buffet thing. And John doesn't eat breakfast, but I do. We try to get up in time for breakfast where I can get some fresh orange juice and smoked salmon. And then we'll be there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I'll do personal art coaching. We'll be painting. So we're you know, for us we're still entertained by stuff. Back when I was not doing so much of the you know, cruising, before I had this art school, online art school, what I like to do is just read a book. Find a corner, read a book. That's totally entertaining to me. Yes and yes.
Put it in a corner, read a book.
Just read a book. And a lot of people, you know, that's, you know, and I can't believe how many people take real books on it. If you take a Kindle, you have lots of books to take. So.
Well, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
A lot of people will not take a real book, and I don't get that at all. Wow, I can't tell you how, I just don't understand it.
Some people like the tactful feel of paper between their little fingers.
Yeah, they just don't. But I felt that this particular painting definitely needed a boat. Again, this is not a tutorial for if you're coming in late. This is you missed me painting this. I started this yesterday. And now I'm just doing the lights and darks on this and finishing it up. So, again, we're just about done with this one. Anyhow, so back to boats. So that's what John and I like to do. And they don't care what you do. They really don't. They facilitate it. They don't care if you don't want to do any of these things. And I like talking to people and meeting people and getting out. And there's something about just getting out of the house, and that's really nice too. It's just being able to get out and
see the world.
Just see people and that kind of stuff, right? So, like I say, we like we like cruising. We won't be doing any cruising this year, but we do like it, and let's put a little pink in there. Gonna get this color here like that, a little bit of phthalo blue. Make this, I think I've got to get some more white here. Getting a little gray color here so that I can kind of purpley gray. Just get this finished up, and then I can tell you more about cruising. So, but for instance, if you like to go to shows and you like to be entertained and you like to listen to singers and all those kind of people, that's really fun. If that's your thing, and John and I liked, for instance, they were the Royal Caribbean did. Each ship had a different musical, like Cats or what are some musicals, John, you can think of? That they did.
What's that one we saw?
Well, we saw them all, I think, at some point. And we liked those.
But once you've seen it, you've seen it.
Yeah, kind of, that's it, So once you've seen it, you've sort of seen it, and then what, right? So again, we like the comedians. And one of the reasons we like Carnival cruise ships is because they have nothing. They have a full week of comedians, maybe 3 shows a night, and that's really nice. So yeah, we quite like that, right? Yeah, they come in here with a little bit of green. Almost done with this. I can start on the other picture. But I wanted to finish this up, and it's interesting, when you let something dry overnight, what happens is that you start seeing where something got, where the colors have changed quite a bit on you. And that's important. So I would say that you have a little frame for this, John, this 8x10. When I start on the other one, I can show you everybody what this looks like framed. Yeah. Again, this has been pre-sold, and it's not a tutorial, but I think we will have something like this in our academy for paintingwithginger.com online art school. We will have a similar painting ready to do for sure, because I think something like this is a lot of fun. And I think people will enjoy doing it. Don't you, John?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a crowd pleaser.
So there we go.
You got it dry? I'm thinking blue.
Okay, John's thinking blue. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm thinking blue.
All right, so I'm going to put this away. It's just so you can see this in a frame before I start the other one, and I can sign it.
You can draw in the sides.
Oh, no, yeah, on the sides, yeah.
You're right with you, ma'am.
Okay, he's getting it. You know, we can put the picture out. I always like to see it framed to see how it came out.
Let me keep your hands out for a second.
Yeah, huh?
Just wait. Just wait. Don't touch it. I don't get a snap of it.
Okay, but I want to put some a
I
little
know
bit
you
more
want to
green.
do things, but for all I need, I just need a picture of it.
Yeah. John's going to get a little picture of it.
Okay, I got it.
And then I'm going to put a few little green twiggy things in. But for the most part, I'm like very happy with it. Okay, all right. I think I'd probably sign it right across here. What do you think, John?
Oh.
Maybe here?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's why we have these conversations. We ask each other what we all think, and artists are not the best picture framer. You know, you may know how to paint, not know a thing about picture frames. And I would just suggest that you study a little bit about picture frames. You know, maybe you can get some, maybe see something online where somebody's talked a little bit about picture frames. But I would say that this has definitely come out the way I wanted it as far as what I was hoping to see with this painting. So I'm happy with that.
As you should be, as you should be.
And so that's
that looks nice.
I think whoever gets that will
Be tickled pink.
We'll love that a lot.
Get it tickled pink, all the pink.
So yeah, all the pink. Tickled pink, John, clever, right? So now I'm going to change paintings and start on my boats. I have a lot of paintings to finish.
You have a lot of paintings to do.
I have a lot of paintings to do, so just using my Posca pen here. I don't want to lose the shape of my boats. It's easy to lose something like this. And I definitely don't want to lose that, so I'm just going to kind of redraw this in. But there are people that, boats are everything for them. John worked in a marina as a teenager. He had a boat, right?
Yep.
What kind of boat did you have, John?
No idea. Somebody left it behind and the boss said you can have it. So I cut it down, cut the hull down and made a diving platform out of it. Had a 35 horsepower Chrysler on it.
So you did diving then, right?
Yeah. We did some water skiing and diving.
That sounds very nice.
I took the boat to college. You took your horse, I took my boat.
Yeah,
Life was good.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, just always good to know, right?
Yeah, it was some good times.
But, like I say, John and I like cruising. We plan on staying home this year and just sort of recouping. I tell you what, after COVID happened, there was a real awakening for both of us as far as life on the planet as we know it and how it can change so fast. And when you go on a cruise ship, you see people that are in good health one year and you come back and they're barely walking. or they're on a wheelchair, or they're on, you know. And we just, you know, for us, for John and I, what we felt was kind of important for us, right, was that we do things while we can still do them. And, you know, some years ago, Cinnamon's dad and I, when I turned 21, I got a little bit of my inheritance from my trust fund. And so we decided to take this trip to Asia. Colby and I did. And we were on a tour, because in those days, it was before the internet, remember all that stuff, right? Before the internet, all those good things, right? And let's see, I need a little Payne's Gray, which might be where.
Would be with the white and black.
Yeah, I think so. Somewhere there's some Payne's Gray. Might have put it in the drawer.
Oh.
John knows where we put it. I don't remember. So, anyhow.
White and black.
White, black. There you go. Thank you, Payne's Gray. All right, let me just put a little of that over here.
Watch your right side.
Yeah, okay. So let's just put that up there, and let's put the little stick under here so we can, there, it can just sit up there. So Cinnamon's dad and I, you know, went and did a 6-week tour of Asia. And everybody in our group, you know, you got to say, I was 21, so that would have been, Colby was 31. He was 10 years older than myself. And let's see, where did this go? Everybody else was, you know, in their 60s and 70s. There was a couple, there were some married couples, for sure. But there were a lot of widows of that group. There were a lot of people that, you know, they were widows, and they were taking this tour, and their husband had promised them when he was alive. This was a story we got. Oh, my husband was alive. He said we would travel. He promised me, and we never did. And now he's gone, and I'm doing it by myself.
Oh, we hear that time and time again.
And we heard that on the ship. And not to get too preachy, but sometimes you have to ask yourself, what are you waiting for? Because things change. It can change drastically, and then, because, you know, when they ask old people, not that I'm one of these old people, they ask old people what they regret in life, and like in a nursing home or something, what do you regret? It wasn't the big TV they bought, or they didn't get this big TV, or they didn't get their Ferrari, or whatever their dream car was, or their fancy house. It was the experiences. They wish they had gone to Yellowstone, or they wish they had done something that they didn't do. And that's profound, you guys. So we didn't want to be that. We didn't want to fall into that category at all of what we'd wished we'd done, right?
Could have, should have.
Which could have, should have done this, and particularly after COVID. When John and I first got together in our academy, we had, neither one of us had had a vacation in what, 10, 15 years, right? John's wife, that he was married to for 40 years, had died unexpectedly. Within 2 weeks of being ill, she had passed away. That's how quick this stuff can happen.
There one day and gone the next.
Yeah, okay. She had always said, oh, when we get older, we'll we'll do it. But, you know, when does older count? So then a lot of times you're thinking, well, it's finances, and that's true. And maybe the finances aren't there for a cruise, but I think if you guys have ever watched, if you ever read my Gazette, we did a thing in the Gazette. We just did an analysis of how much you could save of a year with, if you didn't have a dog, you weren't feeding a dog, weren't drinking alcohol or Coke, sodas, right? smoking and eating out at restaurants. If you just didn't eat out once or twice a week. And I think we came up with like $17,000 a year could be saved.
It was a lot.
That's a lot, okay? And that Susie Orsman says that she thought one of the worst things people could spend their money on, and that she would never consider it, she's that financial guru, was eating out at restaurants. Well, I mean, we all like to eat out. I mean, there's this Mexican place down the street that we love. After COVID, they went from $30 for lunch to $60, and said they were losing money, you know, with those prices. So,
So besides losing money, they lost customer.
but they lost customers too, right? Because we've never been back. We liked them, but not $60 for lunch.
No.
Okay. And let's see, why am I fooling around with this? Let's just do it over here. So again, and of course, John and I don't have any pets, and I think pets are wonderful. You know, you just have to talk about, you know, whether you travel. And I'm not saying you should, you know, but you ask yourself, you know, I know a lot of times after COVID, you know, during COVID, people were so stir crazy they thought they didn't feel safe going to a hotel anymore, and it's very expensive to travel anymore in the United States. Hotels really went up a lot after COVID, so they bought motorhomes. And a friend of mine and her husband bought a motorhome, and really nice big one, you know, with a washer and dryer, one of those, fancy. And then he had to go to some sort of school to learn how to drive it. And that was, and she had never been camping or motorhoming before. And but you know, they were stir crazy. She had kids in Oregon, wanted to go see them, and didn't want to impose on them. So the motorhome seemed like a great solution, you know. And I think it was, you know. So anyway, they bought it, and he graduated from school, and then, you know, from the driving school to drive it. And they took it down to a few trial runs down to, because we live near the water, you know, an hour and a half from Galveston. So they tried, you know, so they, you know, had the boat for that. And just a little bit of that color. And not the boat, but the motorhome for that, right? And they were really loving it. And then they had taken it. They were somewhere had gone down out of state anyway, just like the one state over or something, if I remember the story correct. And it broke down. It was under warranty, but back then you couldn't get parts if your life depended on it. Okay. And it sat for you know, waiting for parts for months. Now they enjoy the motorhome and they love it, right? And they go places with it, and it turned out to be a very good thing for them, right? And but you know, but they did do something. They just didn't stay around and say, "Oh, we should go camping sometime." You know, they went. And they've gone up to see their kids, and up in Oregon. And for the most part, I say that's been, you know, what for some of us might not seem like a successful thing to do, right? Maybe not such a great idea. Some people might think, oh, well, I wouldn't want to do that. Well, that's okay, but they did something. They just sit there saying, you know, and you gotta hand it to, you know, they did something. And John and I, see, I wasn't paying attention, and I grabbed the wrong color. So John and I, as soon as cruising was possible, we had gone to the Hermitage before, the year before. We'd gone to the Hermitage, and which was on my bucket list. I always wanted to see it. So a little disappointing, but nonetheless, we got to see it. And we had done a lot of cruises, and decided that we still wanted to, you know, we weren't tired of it yet. How's that, right? Weren't tired of it yet. Met some wonderful people, and really enjoyed the experience. But the thing, I think the main thing is, it doesn't matter if you go cruising or not, what the main thing is that we took time for us, even if we were working the whole time. We just didn't say, well, it's a big, our art school goes from month to month. If everybody drops out, we starve, okay? Just, if we have
simple
students,
economics.
It's not like, so we realize that and we appreciate when people contribute, and add to the scholarship fund and, contribute. We appreciate that because it really is, you really are keeping these lessons going. But we didn't put life on hold for that. That's what I would say. We didn't put life on hold, and so I guess I would say that whatever your dreams are, if there's a chance to do any of it, just even some of it, I think that would be nice if you could do it. Don't you, John? Don't you think so, John?
Oh, absolutely.
I guess that would be the main thing that we took away from that. Is I'm having fun painting this, by the way, you guys. So I love painting boats, sailboats, and all kinds of things. I don't necessarily want to be in a sailboat, though. You got to admit there was a commercial back when they allowed alcohol commercials to be on television, and it was a Miller Time commercial, and they were these people in a sailboat, and they were all young and good looking and looked like they were having the time of their lives. I mean, really, right? And
that's what one of the college roommates wanted. He goes, I want the Miller Time life.
Yeah.
Let's have a Miller Time weekend.
Yeah, Miller Time weekend, but they were having fun. And really, I don't think it would have mattered if those people were over at their house playing Scrabble. They would have had fun, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the boat, though, was it? It was the camaraderie.
Indeed.
And getting together with friends and doing things. And that's really nice to be able to do too, right? Get together with your friends and do things. So when I think about, when I talk about cruising or that kind of stuff, and I think about, just stuff to do. I guess more of the thing is you don't have to go cruising, but it is nice to go do something, right? That's it, right,
well,
John?
I think the key is to go travel.
Yeah.
You need the life experiences, the different scenery. I mean, people are trying to paint snow without seeing snow. We're trying to paint a wave and never been to the ocean.
Yeah, it's very hard to paint snow if you've never seen it. It's very hard to teach somebody snow if you haven't. There's a lot of our viewers that can testify to that snow is
Quite the challenge.
Can be a real challenge, yeah. So anyway, back to the cruising. So, we've had some fun experiences. There was one experience I had on a cruise ship is that I have always liked to use the handicapped restroom on a cruise ship. Now, the advantage of using a handicapped restroom is that they have little rails on the wall that you can hang into. So if the boat moves, you know what I mean, when you're getting up or something, should it move, you can grab a rail rather than just the toilet paper thing and pull it out of the wall or something, right? Okay. And they're bigger. So there's a tendency to just sort of overeat a little bit on a cruise ship and then feel bad about it. So when you're in a bigger stall, you feel thinner. And don't laugh. You do. It makes you feel thinner. So handicapped restaurants are really good. Restrooms are really good for that. So you've got that thinner experience, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can, they're easy, you know, they've got handles so that my knees have been a challenge in the last few years. And, you know, getting up and down without my shots and sometimes can be a problem. And so a handicap restroom, again, has the handles, which are nice. But other than that, you know, I mean, they're fine, but, you know.
They could be better.
But, you know, so anyhow, I was in this handicap restroom, and I'm glad I took my phone with us. John and I always buy the phone package, the internet package, so that we can use our phones.
Well, we do so we can do work.
Because we work, right?
It has nothing to do with our phones.
Well, it's true.
It's a side benefit the phones work with it.
Yeah.
Let's do it that way.
And so the phones work, right? And anyhow, I ended up, I hadn't been on that toilet for, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes. And the whole thing came out of the wall, and they're up high. Okay? They're up high. They're not attached to the floor. They're supported sort of by, I don't know what, right? Whatever's stuck in the wall is what supports them, okay? And the whole thing, and it's porcelain. So it came crashing down. And I literally am not kidding you. It really, literally came crashing down. And
Came right off the wall.
right off the wall, and I landed on my knees with, of course, my pants down around my ankles. I'm kind of tangled up in them. I mean, I didn't think I could get up, you know. And the door, because it's a big room, the door is, you know, far away. And it's locked, okay? And it's far away. And everybody in this restroom could hear this crash. And the first thing I heard was, "Are you okay?" And I'm trying to think, am I okay? I really didn't know if I was okay. I thought I should have been okay, but you know what I mean? I wasn't sure. And I had the wind knocked out of me, if nothing else, right? And I wanted to get up, and I was waiting for the floor to get wet. Does that make sense to you guys? I was figuring that the water from the toilet would start flooding the floor, and I was on a tile floor, and then I thought, man, getting up is really going to be a problem now. But what happened was that because it's an air vacuum toilet, the floor, luckily for me, never got wet. And which was really lucky, okay? Never got wet. And I'm sitting there, and I finally figure out how to get up. And I called John on the phone, and I said, "Help." I think before I got up, I said,
Yep.
"Help, help, 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 help." So John came, you know, running over from the cafeteria. And then finally, somebody that worked on the ship came in, just you know, one of the cleaners, and then she called, you know, called down to medical, and up came some people, and they brought a wheelchair because I wasn't sure if I could walk at that point. My knees were really killing me. I'd really slammed them into the ground, and not fun. So anyway, they did X-rays, And I had kind of there was kind of a bruise from falling down, and nothing was broken. And I felt we really had a really lucky escape on that, right? Could have been. Nothing was broken, and my knees were all swollen from having hit that tile, so I had to spend a day kind of in bed and off my feet. Could have been worse, but my thought was, if you thought about somebody with bone density problems, or
all kinds of people could have had a lot worse situations.
I just had some knee things, right? But if you think about the people that this could have injured, I mean, really serious injured, and it was a big thing. And they think about it, and I'm not being unkind because I'm not thin myself, right? So I understand this, but there are some of the biggest people I've ever seen in my life on cruise ships, heaviest as far as that goes, right? And of course, they're all using the handicapped restrooms, and these handicapped restrooms are used probably more than any other handicapped restroom in the world. Wouldn't you say, John?
Oh, I would think so. Absolutely.
So I don't use them anymore.
You got over it.
I just don't have a good fuzzy feeling about handicapped restrooms anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah, huh?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just bring some of the excitement into the day.
Yeah, I don't use them anymore. Now, they were sorry that this happened to me. And, well, not very sorry. As soon as the one purser said something, they'd do something. I think it was, I don't know how many letters that we had to send back and forth to see if they were willing to do anything. And
with our pain and suffering.
We got a couple $100, I think, off another cruise. We didn't sue because that's not who John and I are.
It's not my nature.
Not our nature, and that's look. It was an accident. It wasn't their fault, really. I mean, in the sense that if you think about it, I mean that handicapped restroom.
How would you even test for something like that?
But the fact that they were. This is a cautionary tale, not to slam the cruise line. This is a cautionary tale about handicapped restrooms. Now, most of them, if on land, the toilet is stuck to the floor somehow. So the idea that it's collapsing and you falling far probably are not as likely, maybe? Did you say that, John?
Yeah, I would think
not as
so.
likely? I don't know, maybe not as likely anyway, I don't think. But nonetheless, somebody always asked, did you ever get, any kind of accident on a cruise ship? And the next day they gave me a cane, which I kept. The next day I was wandering around.
Yeah, they said, be sure you return that when you get off the ship. Uh-huh.
They didn't, I kept it.
It was a nice one, it folds up small. It's a good handy one to have.
So, I mean, people, people are funny. I mean, I'm just so wary of, I look at that, and again, all the reasons that I like handicapped restrooms haven't changed, on a ship. All those reasons haven't changed, just my perception of whether I'm brave enough to use one. And of course, within it, restroom was closed for like a day. and they had another toilet up there. Lickety split would be that the way you'd put it, John? Lickety split.
It was amazing how quickly it was up and operational again.
Yeah, there it was, right? Lickety split. There was the rest, bathrooms back together. But I gave it a pass. So then John got hurt one time on a cruise. He was sick, and we didn't realize how sick he was. And he passed out in the shower. And those showers are little tiny. They're real tiny, and they have like a glass door, and it kind of curves around. They're kind of. I can draw a picture. Everybody likes my pictures, right? Everybody wants to know about these cruising stories. You have to just. Well, how was your thing? Well, I mean, toilet fell on me, but other than that, I'm okay, right? Just why do you ask, two dogs? Anyway, here's the picture of the. Let's see, here's the bathroom, okay, and here's like that, okay, and your sink and stuff is here, and the shower is like that. So this is a glass shower door, right? Like, right there, okay? Yeah? Door coming in like that. I can't remember. Maybe it's a little wider than that because I guess there's a toilet, and then so maybe it's a little bigger than that.
Aerial view?
Kind of like that, something like that. Anyway, but that's the showers are curved, so you're looking out at the, out from your shower inside the shower. It's curved like that. Okay. So anyhow, John fell through that and hit his head, and oh my God, I was in such a panic, and it's just hysterical. I'm the wrong person to be sick in front. Some people are so good about stuff like that, and I'm not the best person to have in an emergency. I'm the first one to tell you that. But anyway, they wheeled him down to the infirmary and gave him some antibiotics, and we always do trip insurance.
People don't do that are just idiots.
We always do trip insurance.
Bottom line.
And of course, we had to pay for it out of pocket. A lot of times people don't realize that. When you buy trip insurance, eventually you'll see your money back.
I think if you had catastrophic where they airlift you out, I don't think they force you to pay that up front. They work with an insurance company before they take you.
Yeah. But mostly you're...
mostly you cough up the coin first.
Yeah. You cough up the money first. And so... anyhow, so John was okay.
Well, apparently.
Yeah, okay, and we did get our money back, and they didn't. I thought they would charge us for the shower door, and they didn't.
No.
Which was, and they could have, right?
Yeah, they could have tacked it onto the bill.
And they didn't. Though our ship insurance would have paid for that too, by the way, if they had.
Slide to the right, left.
Well, they would have paid for that, yeah.
Move yourself to the left. Move yourself to the left.
So,
thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But so you talk about cruise ships. But now, before I met John, when I was married to George Cook, which thus the last name Cook, he and I like to go cruising too. We couldn't do it as often. Maybe once every couple of years. Maybe we could. Well, we did about 4 cruises, I think. It really wasn't in the budget. We did a few. We both loved them. And anyhow, so we had, he was working up in the New York area on a project, that's something with the company he and another guy had going together. And I suggested that we had sold some property, all our rental properties, and we had some money for a while anyway. We'd sold all these rental properties. And so I had suggested we'd take a cruise. Now the first cruise we were supposed to, we were going to take two. First cruise we were supposed to take was a Caribbean cruise, and that was on something called the Big Red Boat. And what happened to that one was that the boat went out of business, it went bankrupt, and dumped their passengers in the Caribbean somewhere and went home. We went back to Europe because none of those boats are, you can't sue those cruise ships. They're all out, they're not in the United States for a reason. Okay? And anyway, they went home, and so, but I had, of course I had put it on a credit card, but I also had trip insurance, so that even though that I didn't lose my money or anything, because they were, I was covered with that, okay? But, so then we had this trip where we were going to go to see the anniversary. It was our anniversary, and we were going to do Canada, you know, fall colors of Canada. It's all excited about that, fall colors of Canada. So, and that was a brand new Carnival ship, and very excited to do it. It's brand new. So I met George up in, I flew up, and I met him up in New York. He just went and parked at the airport, and then we had the Carnival shuttle, which I thought was a Carnival shuttle. Guess what? It was a private shuttle that wasn't the Carnival shuttle, though I thought it was, right? It wasn't a Carnival shuttle at all. It was just a shuttle service, and we had to wait for some other people to get off meet their airplane. And by the time we got on the shuttle, some people needed to be dropped off at a hotel, and we were the last people to be dropped off. And John will tell you, I do not do well.
She doesn't like those adventures.
I don't do well when we're late for shit, right? Stuff. I'm sorry. We're late for things. Oh my gosh, I do not do well at any of that stuff. Just we're late. I don't want to. What do you mean we're late? I mean, I just can't. I don't do late, right?
Late is not
and John
an
will tell you, I just don't do late, right? Some people do, but not me, man. I do not do late. And
I know it's weird to say we're always late for our show, but
yeah, but I mean,
different.
I tell you what, late at the airport, no way, Jose. You know, I don't care if we're sitting there 2 hours early. I'm not late. You know, and I know that's crazy talk, you guys. I understand that, but that's everybody has to kind of know what their limitations are. So anyhow, I'm a little nervous because I don't understand why we're not at the cruise ship. And I don't understand that we're dropping off these other people first. Do not understand this at all, friends. I mean, I just no, right? And oh my God. So we finally get on the cruise ship, and I'm a wreck. We got on just before they sailed. Last people on the friggin' boat. Okay, and I'd already had the one cruise get canceled on me, right? Because it went out of business. Okay. Now we've got this crazy shuttle service taking us late last, okay? And so, you know, we got on the boat and it was kind of okay. And then we had our, you know, we got a room with a balcony. We never did that before. Got a room with a balcony. It was going to be really nice, and I was all excited to go see Canada. Real excited to see that. Never been. Well, I've been to Victoria, but never been that part of the world. I was all excited to go see that. And that night, I had the best dinner I'd ever had. Lamb chops are totally my thing. Maybe some of you know that. And I had these lamb chops for dinner that night in the dining room. That was just, back in those days, you got really good food on cruise ships. It's gone downhill since then, but I had these lamb chops with pecan crusted lamb chops that were just, I want to say to die for, but I almost died. Because that night I was really sick. I was so sick. And I mean really sick. I don't know. They're so sick and then there's really sick kind of thing, right? And I was really sick. Yeah. And so the next day George got up and I said, I'm sick, I'm just going to stay in bed. So I stayed in bed that day, and then I didn't go to dinner that night. And he said, you should get up, you'll feel better. I said, don't feel better, I'm sick, I'm staying in bed. So a couple of days went like this, and George went on to the casino and he went on to the shows, and he was having a great time, you know. Just, every once in a while, you know, then occasionally he'd come back and have a cookie, you'll feel better. And I'm sick, I'm burning up. I'm freezing, absolutely freezing, because we had this balcony, and I didn't know that you could ask for blankets. And the room steward hadn't been in the room, because the lady hadn't been in the room because I was so sick. And at one point he said, you got to get up so she can clean the room. So I don't remember. You got to get up and walk around, and that made it worse. And he said, oh yeah, you got to get up, right? So then I remember walking around a little bit so that she could clean the room. And then he had been in the casino. He had been learning blackjack, you know? And he loved that. Except the problem is that, and I say this with love, kind of, is he's dyslexic, like I am. And he can't add. And you know, one of the things about, if you're going to play blackjack, he can do math really well, but not fast. He can do it just fine. Not like me, who doesn't do math at all. He really can do math, but dyslexic math, you can't do it fast, right? So he's trying to play 21, and he's got these techniques. He got on the internet and he heard about some techniques that he could use. And it was all going to be great. But, so he's down there giving blackjack lessons to a couple of women down there, yeah. And the one thing I'll say about George is he's very likable. He can be extremely likable. People like him right away. Don't they, John?
Yes.
Very likable guy. I mean, he has his dark side, but the light side of him, the Jekyll side or the Hyde side, whichever you want to pick, damn likable. No question about it. So, anyhow, I get the right kind. So he said, listen, they gave us, they have some tickets. One of them can't go, and we can do an excursion to see Canada tomorrow, wherever we were. We can do an excursion. We can see it. It'd be great. And I'm going, I'm really sick, John. George, you just go ahead. I can't go. He says, oh, you have to go. This will be great. So we got down there. I mean, I'm so sick. You guys just can't know. I'm so sick. And we get down to the gotta change the angle of this a little bit. We get down to the bus. We had to walk to the bus. It wasn't like, if you get off on a ship, there's a dock, and then there's where the bus is, and it's a hike, friends. You know, trust me, on a good day, it's a hike, right, John? On a good day.
On a good day.
When you're sick,
not so much.
It's bad. You're running a fever. That's bad, right? So anyhow, we get on the bus, and we stop off. I think there was a waterfall and some other stuff, and I stay on the bus. I just stay with the bus driver. I never get out. I'm so sick I can't get out of the bus. So we do the whole stupid tour. Okay. Do this whole thing, and then there was some more tour you could do. You could get off, and I said, I'll just walk back to the ship. I wasn't up for anything else, right? So I remember there was a bunch of people selling things right before you got on the boat, and I stopped and I bought my niece, gosh, I don't even know how I had the energy to do it. I bought my niece a doll from the Anne of Green Gables, because that's where we were, the place where that was. And I remember buying her that, and then I don't remember much more about that. But then we hadn't been home very long. George had come back to the boat, and I stood up, and it felt like, the feeling was that the whole part of my uterus had fallen a foot or something, and giant pain was happening. And I mean, really big time feeling,
pain,
like
big
heck pain. And I remember saying to George, I said, I do not know what has just happened, but I got to tell you, something really terrible has happened. And you've got to get me to the infirmary. And he said, oh, you'll be fine. I said, listen, you, I don't know how to tell you this, except that you get me to that doctor now, right? So he reluctantly got me down to the to the infirmary, and they took my temperature, which was, you know, off the chart, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. But obviously my blood pressure had dropped down to nothing, and I was really sick. So they said, well, spend the night here, and when we get to Halifax tomorrow, you'll have to get off the boat. And they told George to pack, which really pissed him off. He really wasn't looking forward to this cruise. And surely there was nothing that wrong with me that required us leaving the ship. I know, you're going, good grief. Yeah, well, he's not married to me anymore, is he? But anyway, the sad thing about that was that I get into the hospital. I remember that I get taken off the ship, and I remember this ambulance coming in, and this really nice gal, and she was probably in her, I don't know, 30s, and she had a long, dark braid, and she was the ambulance attendant. And she asked me what was going on, and I told her my arm hurt, and she says, your appendix is broken. It's what's happened to you. Your appendix. It's in the appendix. I mean, she knew immediately what was wrong. Unfortunately, the hospital didn't. When I got to the hospital, as with most hospitals, they want to know how they're going to get paid. Of course, we did have trip insurance, which George was able to provide, you know, showing them that. And then we had you know, regular insurance, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield, okay, from, you know, from our insurance company. And so, I mean, those were all good things, yes? Those are all good things. And so then I remember waiting in that hospital in Canada, oh, for a long time, all day. And they weren't sure what was wrong with me either. They didn't apparently believe the paramedic who said, by the way, her appendix is broken, has ruptured. So anyhow, they ended up eventually taking me in that evening to the operating room. And in fact, my appendix had ruptured. And the let's see, I'm back here to thinking about my painting and telling you. So they, you know, they, you know, did the operation, and then I was in the hospital for 1 month while, because I wasn't safe to travel even after they had operated. And there was some worry that I wasn't going to make it. In order to go in and see me, because I was a foreigner, came off a cruise ship, in order to get in, I had a private room, but in order to get in, you had to dress up like hazmat suits to get in. George spent a lot of time in the hospital or in the casino at night. He did kind of hang out a little bit. The doctors would come in. It was a teaching hospital. The doctors would come in a little group every day to, you know, discuss my case. In the meantime, the trip insurance people were worried, and she wanted to come to Canada, and George wouldn't send her the money for the plane ticket. And she was just furious with him. Because I mean, she and her husband John didn't have the money to go. They were just married. And he said, and you can't come. And he told everybody, don't send her flowers. Now, I don't know what that was about, but I never got cards or flowers from anybody. Then all my friends were just panicking about what had happened to me. So then, the trip insurance people were very concerned that the Canadian hospital maybe wasn't up to the standards of the United States, which I don't know why they would ever think that, because it's not like we're such great shakes, right, in a lot of cases. But they had told my daughter if they felt that I wasn't getting the care that was going to be required, that they would fly me down to New York. But they were fully prepared to fly me out of Canada to to make sure that I had the proper care for my condition of appendicitis. So then, there was some worry about pneumonia was rampant in that hospital, but I was lucky I didn't, all these signs about it. I was lucky I didn't get any of that. And so about a month goes by, and they decide that I'm well enough to get back to Texas and not die on the way home. So they said free to go, and the trip insurance people who'd been talking to the hospital the whole time arranged for a first-class trip back from Texas, or from Halifax, Canada, to Texas. And it was nice. I remember the first class lounge was really nice. I was very impressed. Just, we never went anywhere first class, and it's been years since I'd ever got to do that. So I have to say I was more than impressed with how nice that was. And the other thing I'll tell you, something, just a side point that makes me think of it, is that, you know, Canadians are the nicest people. And when you travel on Air Canada somewhere, and you get off the plane, everybody doesn't jump up like they're on fire, like they have to get off this second or they won't make it. You know what I mean? Well, that happens a lot on
On U.S. flights?
a U.S. ship. You know, first thing is to get up and all crowd in the aisle. It makes John crazy. He absolutely
Makes
hates
no sense
that.
to me.
He hates that and always tells me to sit down, but, you know, it's just something. Anyway, it was just, honestly, it was lovely traveling, you know, on Air Canada. I really liked it, and I liked traveling with all these Canadians because there was just nice people. And of course, the staff in the hospital was wonderful. And the thing that was a little different about the treatment in the hospital in Canada was that the nurses were given opinions. And America, a lot of times doctors don't want to hear the opinions of the nursing staff. But these women know their job. They're with the patient all the time, and they were allowed input. So I get back to Texas, and of course Cinnamon's there to meet me, and the first thing she says was, "Oh my God, Mom," she says, "I was so worried. I thought you were going to look terrible. You look great for somebody that's been so sick." And at first I brightened up with that, because who doesn't like to hear stuff like that, you know? Because I was, you know, really afraid I looked like death warmed over. And that's kind of what the mirror told me. But, you know, she said that I looked great. Okay. That's what she said. Why would she lie about anything like that? She said I really looked great, right? So, we had a lady that lived next door, and I still had stitches and stuff in my stomach. And I had a lady that lived next door, and George thought that the Canadian hospital had released me. I was fine. He would get Tina to come over and take my stitches out or whatever I need. And Cinnamon looked at me, and she said, "You've got to get it. You have to have you have to see a doctor." And George said, "Oh, she's fine. They released her from the Canada." And Cinnamon said, "She isn't fine." And so she immediately called and got me an appointment downtown Houston with this this doctor, and I went down immediately because Cinnamon said it was an emergency. And I went down immediately to see this lady. And the lady looked at me, did a few tests, and put me in the hospital that day. I went right back into the hospital. She says, "I don't know why they released you from Canada. but you had no business being out of the hospital. And apparently I'd gone 72 hours with a ruptured appendix, or almost that much, some sort of crazy thing where people die in the first hour. I mean, people just croak on that kind of stuff, and I should have. So then I was in the hospital in the States. I was in the hospital for I don't know, a little bit of time, I guess, a month. And I had another operation. And one of my best friends who lives in California, and her husband was a doctor, got to, I gave him permission to see my medical report. And he had said, "Kiss your friend goodbye, she's not going to make it. Say goodbye now." Now, it's the interesting thing. I never believed for a second I wasn't going to make it. Never thought that for a minute. I didn't care what those other people thought. I didn't think so. And so I would lie in bed and just imagine myself in a peaceful meadow with lovely trees and sitting in a whirlpool of healing, some sort of jacuzzi with healing entities in the body and getting well. That's what I thought. And I'd get in here and I'd do this kind of weird meditation. And that's how I kind of got through some of that, was it because I wasn't going down the road where, guess what, she's not making it. We weren't going down that road at all, not for 1 second. And the cruise and trip insurance paid for everybody in Canada, all the bills. And you've got to imagine a time in somebody's life where they would think that let's see, I want to do something like this. That trip insurance isn't a good idea. And I can tell you absolutely for a fact that trip insurance is important. And when you talk about, how much does trip insurance cost, John?
Like $145.
Per what? That's a percentage, though, right? Usually per trip. For a $5,000 trip,
Yep.
maybe $145.
Yep.
And
you can pay the $145, or you can pay the $145,000.
yeah, and
I'm sure the hospital stay that you had for a month was not inexpensive.
yeah, those 2 months. Yeah, the one in Canada and one down here wasn't expensive. Yeah, and Carnival sent me some flowers.
Really?
When I got home, they sent me some flowers.
That's pretty classy.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty nice, all things
I mean,
considered.
you fall off a toilet, you don't get anything. Here,
Yeah.
you get your ruptured appendix, at least you get flowers.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't their fault I ruptured the pen.
No.
Just, it wasn't their fault. And yet, those nice people, yeah, sent me flowers. All my friends said, "Oh, I was going to send you flowers." My brothers, sisters, everybody was still alive then. Oh my God, my brother came down to see me, my oldest one. Everybody understood I almost died, right? And now the other thing that happened was, okay, so you guys, there's more that happened, yeah. So now I understand that George had a stressful time with me almost dying in the hospital, right? I don't understand why he wouldn't let my daughter come up. We had the money at that time. We just sold some properties. It wasn't like we couldn't afford to fly her up and put her in a hotel. I was too sick to know what was going on. The first few days I wasn't even awake, right? after the operation. I mean, I wasn't even, aware of anything. So, but when he was packing up, I had traveled. Now, remember I told you that my mother, if you've been following along all along with these story times, right? You guys have been following along with that, right?
Yeah.
I may have told you that my mother had all this jewelry. Some of it had belonged to my real mother, and I never bought any jewelry because I figured I'd get it back. She'd give it back to us or something, somehow. And who knew she would live that long, right? Kind of thing, right? I would get it back. That's what I thought. Yeah?
Makes sense.
But when the wall came down in Europe, there was a gemstone called amber, and amber is one of the two natural, like pearls, natural gemstones, okay? And amber was, my friend Gudrun, she had a little house in a little gift shop in what we called Old Town Spring, Texas, which is just right outside of Houston. And her gift shop, and she carried amber. She was able to get it from Europe. There was people were bringing it in from Russia and Poland and places like that because the wall had come down. Up until then, nobody was seeing amber. That if anybody had any amber jewelry, it was inherited from a grandparent that maybe had it before all of that was closed off to the world. All right. So, anyway, so I started collecting amber, and Gudrun was a good friend of mine. She took art lessons from me, and we were friends. Her husband was German, and they were both German. And we took a wonderful trip to Germany and bought amber. And I had a collection of amber like you wouldn't believe. I'll have to show you some of that sometime. I'm telling you what, my collection of amber is by far just absolutely
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's something to see. And in those days, when you'd go on a cruise ship, if we could cruise, that first time I ever in that cruise ship, I took the amber with me, not realizing that George would have to pack and we'd have to get off the ship. Yeah, in a hurry. And in all fairness, he didn't have a long time to pack. We didn't. But nonetheless, got to get a different brush. I mean, I probably had $10,000 or $12,000 worth of amber that I'd gotten all wholesale, because whenever she would buy anything in amber, when I'd go shopping with her, these dealers, she would be buying, maybe $15,000, $20,000 worth of amber at a time, and I would just quietly shove my stuff over onto her little pile, okay? And
oh, it seems fair.
And so she'd put it with it, and so I mean, that was very sweet of her to do it. But I ended up with, got to dry this, you guys. Sorry about the noise.
Ooh. Listen.
So anyway, back to this, to the amber. So I had a nice collection, and when I finally got out of the hospital in Houston, they ended up. I was in there so long. I begged them to go home. I said, I got to go home, you guys. I can't stand it anymore. And you know, one of my ideal vacations I used to tell people was, I don't know if your wife ever did that, said that to you, was just a hotel room with a few books, right? Don't bug me. But I was so sick in the hospital, even after the second operation, that I didn't even feel like reading. And before I tell you about the amber, there was sort of a funny bit where, but you know, hospital food as it was, and I didn't feel like eating anything. George would go out and bring me back snacks, and for some reason, you know, this is probably this was kind of getting to be the end of our relationship. You know, it took a while to finally end it, but it certainly put a few nails in the coffin with this. He would bring me candy bars that I had never eaten in my entire life. And I remember being so adamantly mad at him about it because, you know, my feeling was if I didn't eat these before I got sick, why do you think that suddenly I want to eat them now? Yes and yes? Yeah? I mean, it made no sense to me, right? And he never brought me back anything I wanted to eat. It was so crazy. I mean, it was just crazy. It was just one of those things, small thing, but you know. Let's see, where are we going with this? Anyhow, when I got back home, we had, you know, I still had to have people come by and take care of, you know, I wasn't totally well yet, so they still had to have, people still had to come by and do things. And so I had a visiting nurse come by every day and do stuff. And we had another cruise planned before I got sick, okay? And instead of canceling, George decided to go on the cruise. He went ahead to take it. He just took another friend with him. I know.
I think that's very nice of them.
Well, you know what I mean? No. So, you know, we didn't have any arguments about that, but that was the kind of stuff he did. He just could have canceled the cruise, saved it for another time. But, you know, I think he'd been through some stress too from all this. And so that's what he did. He just he went on another cruise. But we were talking about the amber, right? The worst part was that there's worse parts. Yeah, there is. The worst part is that he lost my amber. He didn't pack it. And oh man, I was so mad. Okay.
Fit to be tied comes to mind.
You know, just unbelievable, you know, to me that would even be a possibility. And that he could, you know, that he could have lost it.
Why was he even taking it?
Well, it was on the ship. And you know, he had to go pack up.
Oh.
Right?
Gotcha.
And it was on the ship, and it didn't make it home. Yes and yes? I gotta turn something upside down, you guys, so I can get my bird. I'm not happy with the shape. Sometimes if I see something upside down, I can see it a little better than if I'm looking at it right side up. Because it's kind of a funny little pear shape, this little bird. And yeah, so when he was on the trip, and I was so out of it when I got home, and so when he was on that trip, he happened to go on the trip. It was the cruise he was going on, which was it, you guys remember Atkins?
Yeah.
And you know, the diet and stuff. The cruise we had planned was this Atkins cruise, because Mr. Atkins was going to be on the cruise with us. Imagine how exciting that was. And so anyhow, I mean, I understand why you wanted to go. I wanted to go, right? But rather than so he went on the cruise, and some good friends of mine were on that cruise too. We were all going to go together, and I remember that so he kept trying to replace the amber that I had lost, and you couldn't. The stuff that I had with Goodwin, you couldn't replace. It was not replaceable. We didn't have anywhere near the funds, but he kept buying amber, and he'd go back and he'd show it to her. She'd look at him and she'd say, "That's not enough. Go back," right? So he did come home with some amber and try to, you know, appease the situation a little bit. But I mean, how much appeasing? You know, you guys, you know what I'm saying, right? There was just not a lot of appeasing going on with this. And I was very upset with him for losing all this beautiful amber. And about 6 months later, after all of this, the cruise, when he unpacked it from coming home, he had hung it somewhere in his closet in a special bag and didn't remember he'd put it there. So he actually had packed the amber. He just didn't remember he'd packed it. And I think he probably had some guilt over the fact I was sick and he hadn't done that much about it. Anyhow, just who knows. But the good news is I actually didn't lose the amber. And I got home with it. And I used to take it on cruises. And then one time, John and I were on a cruise, and I left it in the cabin. And getting it, we'd already gotten off the ship. And you remember how hard it was to go back and get that?
Oh, yeah.
It was a big deal to go back and get that stupid amber. And I've never taken it on a cruise. I don't take any jewelry on a cruise anymore.
Now, once you're off that ship, you are off that ship.
Yeah, you're
No
you're not.
takebacks.
Yeah, you're off, and you know anything can happen, and you're just off, right? So, yeah, you don't want that to happen. So anyhow, the upshot of it is that I have the amber. We don't travel with it anymore, and that's fine. And I recovered from my, a ruptured appendix. Nowhere for where, but there was a sort of a funny thing because my art gallery was very worried at that time that something had happened. They were very, very concerned because they had art shows planned and all that stuff, and I was too sick to go. So we're talking about, cruises. And so when people say, now we heard stories, true stories of people that refused to buy insurance, wouldn't spend the extra $35, $135 or 10%. And you don't, just not for cruises. Anytime you take a trip, there are companies that will sell you trip insurance. Now, when John and I were in Venice this summer, you may have heard us tell you the story about how we lost our luggage. You guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like I say, you may have heard us tell you that story. And we always buy trip insurance, right? But and we usually have insurance with our credit cards. We have a travel credit card that gives us insurance. But the problem is that we had gotten a deal on that flight, practically free. It was like frequent flyer miles. So we didn't have any. We hadn't paid for the flight.
Full coverage stuff.
We had full. We weren't covered for the luggage, or the clothes or anything, right? So, but mostly, and we've had other incidents where we were covered by insurance, but not when it happened. Like we would have covered it, but this and that, these circumstances, but not actually for being sick on a cruise. So John and I would still encourage anyone that was thinking of cruising to get trip insurance. Yes? Absolutely. Wouldn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't leave home without it, kind of thing, right? So now I'm going to flip this around again, see how my little seagull's doing a little better. This little beak has got to curve down a bit, and I don't quite have that. So let's see. So anyway, we would tell people to get that, some sort of travel insurance. Is it key, right, John?
It's just too cheap not to. It's just. Even my little bill was like $1,800.
Yeah. Because you'll wish you had done, just why, you have car insurance, and why take the chance, right?
Yep.
So as we're talking about boats, and the kind of boats, it's always fun. So that was the fun part of that, that story, right? I keep doing that. Okay. Happy days on this. And a little bit of the raw umber. Where did I put that? Here, I think. Okay, so I need to get some red out. Some CAD red light, and get some color back in this picture. So those of you who are joining us and hearing all these stories about cruising and people dying and all this weird stuff, right?
All these happy things.
This is story time. And these paintings are not, this is not a, tutorial, but we are telling stories and painting, doing painting, but again, not a tutorial. And, but, story time is all about just, I have these paintings that are all sold, and they need to be, they need to be,
They need to be painted.
painted, and so you're just kind of all keeping me company while I paint them. I guess that's what I would say, and I hope if you learn a little bit about something about painting something, that's good too, right? But again, the purpose of these is not was not, the intention of these is not for tutorials, and because I have a lot of paintings to do, it makes it fun for me because it's just, I like painting different things, and all these paintings are different. And let's see, where did I put that red color here? So anyway, that's the genesis of our what we're doing today and what this is all about. So if that makes any sense to you guys. So back to, so last time we stopped talking was when we talked about trip insurance. And why you want it. And so again, if you're traveling, some words, cautionary tale of why you might want to get it. Now, a lot of times people ask about, well, I would worry that I would fall off a cruise ship. Remember that, John?
Oh yeah, that's a common one.
That's a common one. And I have to say that all the time John and I have been cruising.
I'm still trying to figure out how people do it. I mean, literally.
Yeah, we're not sure how they do it either, right? I mean, how does one actually do that? It's just all these colors of paint that go on this boat, these boats. You'd think this painting would be over pretty quick, but no, it's not. Every time I see something else, I have to do something else. But eventually we'll get it. This is sort of fun. I don't know. I'm hoping having fun and taking our travels with us. As we travel. You're traveling with us on the boats. John still gets a little seasick on a boat that's a little small boat, right? Would you say that's true, John?
On those
tenders and stuff, right?
No, tenders are fine. That's small. It's the middle ones.
Okay, the ones that are not quite.
The one like we took when we had to go over to.
Yeah,
in Mexico.
It's like a taxi.
Yeah. I'm fine if I'm outside and in the fresh air and can watch the horizon. You put me inside where I can't see anything? Nah. That ain't gonna happen.
And then the thing that when we first started cruising, John and I, we bought, there's these ear patches you can get.
They were great.
And they really work well.
Yep. They work well. You have the pressure points for your wrists, little wristbands, and you have Dramamine, the non-drowsy. Now
Yeah.
we'll pop a Dramamine if they put out the little, what we call them, the cookie storage bags.
Yeah,
on
the little barf bags on the stairs. If you see the barf bags on the stairs, okay?
That means go pop a Dramamine.
You know that they're gonna pop a Dramamine because you know that they're gonna
They're
put those out an
anticipating
hour
rough
before they
seas.
anticipate problems. Yes.
Yep.
They're anticipating problems for sure if they're doing that. Which, it's good to know this. These are, there's some things that you just learn from travel, right? That you can't really learn any other way. You just have to kind of go do it. Sometimes I'm still writing a book on cruising and how to cruise for free. The problem is that so much of the free cruising that we were able to do, we still got an offer. Like we got an offer the other day to go from New York for 10 days down to Florida and back for like 12-day cruise, or to the Bahamas and back for 12-day, 14-day cruise for free. We did get that offer. You still have to pay port charges, but we did get that offer.
But who wants to go up to
But I don't want to fly
York
up to New York. That's not
in
free,
February?
right? Flying up to New York is not, that isn't free. No.
Yeah, this whole flying thing's got me off right now.
And one year we did a birthday cruise for me, but a few years ago before COVID. A lot of people came, and that was fun. And those of you who came on that cruise, that was so fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I think that's how we met Luann, right? We met Luann, and
yeah,
Becky Sermons was, we had met on another cruise, and we were friends, and she put on the best birthday party ever. Really, she was amazing.
exactly.
Honestly, that was something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, a lot of colors in these boats. I like painting boats, particularly old ones. I think there was supposed to be a rope here. I don't know that I'm putting it in. Okay. Let's see, where else can we keep playing with this picture? But John and I hope to be able to cruise again sometime.
We've got one booked for 25. And that's Alaskan run, the entire Alaskan run. All the way up to the Arctic.
Yeah, it's every day it stops somewhere. It's a Holland America cruise.
Yeah. Those
Every
people
day.
still got good food.
Yeah, we decided that, even though we're almost pinnacle on Royal Caribbean, that we like Holland America. Our friend Kim, who's now in the Arctic right now on a free Princess cruise,
Yeah, she had a great time down there.
but she wasn't enjoying the food on the ship until she got to the dining room.
Yeah, she says the buffet
said
food was not the best at all.
Yeah, she said it was terrible, and that, again, after COVID, things went to, what do they call
Went
it,
to
heck in
poo.
a handbasket, really?
Yeah.
I think that's the expression.
Since COVID, do the cruise still have buffets? Yeah, the buffets are back.
They have it, they're back, but they're just, boy, they're not the same, man. They're back, but, boy, they're just not the same. And the other stuff is not the same, too. And I know you just, it's disappointing, right, John?
Yes. Now, I gotta admit, now Holland's was not bad at all.
Holland
All their
America
food
was
really good.
a real change.
Yeah, because we had just gotten off of Royal and went to a Holland, and there was 9-day difference in that one.
Yeah, we just had just gotten off of Royal last summer, and we got instead of flying home, we took a cruise back. So it was just a little easier for us to fly from New York City than Holland. So we. And the thing of it is that they're so booked, the cruise companies, everybody's so tired of not being able to travel, right? The cruise companies are so booked, they don't have any incentive, as far as I can tell, to make their...
No, right now it's booked solid. They don't care if you make it or not. They don't have to give the store away anymore.
Yeah, they don't have to give you any more free deals.
They don't even have to give you good deals.
They've got people gambling. Oh my goodness, John and I, last summer, we met a couple from Las Vegas. She was probably in her 30s, and this gentleman was
Very
probably in
attractive.
his 60s, and they were...
They were a cute
we
couple.
ended up eating dinner with them. That's how we ended up knowing them, right?
Yeah.
And he gave her, for gambling, she had $90,000 a year to gamble with and lose. And she won in the casino $40,000 and didn't think that was a big deal.
Well, that was only 40,000 on that one machine. Then she won again on another machine, another 30. And she'd already spent the 40 to get that 30. And we go, what are you trying to do? She goes, I'm trying to get a free cruise.
Well, they give free cruises with balconies and suites. She wanted not just a free inside cabin, she wanted a suite, right?
Yeah, she wanted a suite, a free suite. For $40,000, you could buy this free suite. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but for some people it's the...
I just don't get it. Some people.
We don't get it either, you know, just,
People be funny.
and we saw, ooh, I knew I'd get the color if I kept looking. This is cad yellow deep, in case anyone's wondering what the color was that I
I was
found.
wondering what that was.
Yeah,
I was sitting here myself. I wonder what color that is.
yeah, it's cad yellow deep. It's nice, huh?
Yeah. Gives just that little oomph that it needs.
Yeah, it just needed something, and I wasn't quite getting it. Low battery changed something.
Something's not plugged in. We've lost. Well, this is going to require glasses.
What do
That's
I?
not a problem. Let me just switch over to the other camera. Get a side view for a while. I don't know why it's not
Did we
plugged
just
in.
go black? Did we just go blank?
Well, yeah, it's black right now. Not to panic, people. Not to panic. Hang in there. I'll just cut it over to that camera.
Okay,
So
now
it's
the
gonna go
camera's
black- it's gonna go
tipped
black on me
sideways.
here in a second. Why?
John will have to do some adjustments.
You got to figure out why he thinks he needs to be on. Well, this is that other camera that's about to go. We've already lost one. They're dropping like flies. They're 7 years old. Okay, baby, what's wrong with you? You're there. You're all plugged in. You shouldn't be on battery. Wait,
Well, there you go. You just don't know. We'll probably have to cut this out, right?
cut what out?
This whole thing in the
What?
video. Can you just cut this out later?
No, why?
It's great excitement, right?
Yeah, well, they're seeing what you see now. They have the side view at the moment. They had a couple seconds of blackness, but we were talking. Everybody's fine. Everybody's fine. Question is why? Here we go. Just a little love and care, that's all. Maybe. Oh, you think it's just dying? We'll have to see how the feed is.
John is still looking, but you know, he was checking back and forth to
we're
make sure
back.
that we're all okay.
They're just getting the live. My feed must be way behind. And we can go back now. Bam. Okay, we're back. No panic, people. Don't panic. We didn't
Well-
leave you. Ginger panicked. I didn't.
Well, sure,
I was cool, calm, and collective.
sure. What's not to panic about, right?
We got technical staff here. The whole stuffy staff was on the situation.
Which
They
is good to
handled
know,
it.
John. I assure you.
I got my people on it. Lamb Chocolate's taking control.
Like I say, we're almost to the end of our picture.
Luann lost $100 gambling in 1979 and she's still not over it. Luann, all I can say is, give it up, kid. Come on. Move on.
Let's see, where was that color? It's got cad yellow deep, the Holbein. Somebody asked what that was.
Okay,
Still
we've
want
got a
something.
color wheel handy.
So John's getting something else. What are you getting?
I want a color wheel. You know where's my dinosaur one? I have a dinosaur one.
John's afraid that we may have lost the...
Lost what?
Well, you're not happy with the colors?
Oh, no. I'm working on something else. You got to keep up with me, lady. I work on 5 things at a time.
You do.
Where's my dinosaur one? Chester, did you take it? I'll use this one for now. I can use this one.
I think that must have been on my hand. Okay, I'll keep. We're almost done with this, you guys.
This down here?
Let's see.
This is the Red Sea.
Let's put some more titanium white out. And a little bit more on my background. I think I'm about done, but...
Oh, no, Ginger's camera's going crazy. We're not using Ginger's camera, but it's going crazy. It's driving me crazy. What is going on with everything? Well, I guess it's 24. We got these in...
Well, we're talking about it. We want to redo the studio so that sometimes I could do some big paintings on an easel. Okay?
But not teach them or teach them?
You know, while we're teaching, maybe even. I don't know. We want to, anyway, we're talking about maybe redoing the studio. We're talking about just rearranging stuff, but that takes so much time.
It takes time and money.
Yeah.
Two,
we
in
just
short supply.
Telling you, we blew our wad cruising.
Yeah, but
well, we still could go.
You can't give it up.
Well, we still could go, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it now, they're wanting to restrict who's going to go in and out of Norway.
Yeah.
They've already restricted who's going in and out of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
They've restricted that.
And they don't, you know, when they want to, and all the, you know, they want to let, you know, if you're going to go visit Greece, they got to visit, you know, start limiting how many people can visit any one monument at one time. So you, already you have to get, if you want to go see Van Gogh's garden, or Monet's garden in Giverny, France, you got to have reservations. You can't, I don't know if anybody will ever go back to the Hermitage, but even then, you couldn't.
No, that was just, we were just cattle in that one. I was very disappointed in that.
Yeah, that was like really terrible.
I would love to have seen that, but.
Kim was our friend Kim Carr, who travels a lot too. She's the one in Antarctica right now. Antarctica, she was able to get a private tour there, and we didn't know to do that. I wish we had of, yeah. People don't understand the layers it takes to do something like this. But I would say that we're pretty good here. A lot of times it's just one time one case we won a free cruise to, each of us had a free 8-day cruise to anywhere in the world we wanted that Royal Caribbean went.
Yeah, back when they gave 8 days instead of 7.
Instead of 7. We still have 2 free 7-day ones that we could use from March to March of this year, this year and next year. And anyway, we picked their most expensive cruise, which was in China. And we never would go back to China, cruise or not. But that was it was 99% Chinese people from that area, from Singapore, from Shanghai, or the mainland China was what was there, and the experience of being, I mean, I don't know. I've had some people say that they had that experience even on La Costa cruises, where the main language wasn't English, and it was just a different experience for that. Had people, make that observation. Put the fog back, you guys.
It's a foggy day.
I guess in summary, if you're going to go cruising, we would tell you what are the kind of things you like to do. We'll tell more about our cruise. We've done enough cruises. We certainly can do several stories about that, and excursions and stuff, and things to look out for. But we personally, still love it. It's it's like Okay, do you have I'm going to dry this, John. You've got a...
Of course I gotta.
Yeah, I think we should look at a frame, maybe.
Who wouldn't have a gotta? There's going to be a blue one again, too. Could do the white one, maybe.
Yeah, I think the white kind of came out, don't you?
Kind of ties the fog together.
Yeah, doesn't it? They can put it on a little thicker in places.
That's that same size, isn't it? Isn't that 8 by 10? Oh, I didn't pull the pins out of this one yet.
You bend over here and just do that. Okay.
Entertain them for a bit. I gotta pull these pins out. Ow.
All right, that's kind of what I had in mind for this. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna just give it a quick dry, and John will put it in a frame and let you guys see kind of what I came up with today when I was talking about boats and why you might want to buy cruise trip insurance, even if you're traveling anywhere, really. What you got for us, John?
Got a frame.
John's going to put it in a frame.
You see it.
Probably want to show both in a frame, those other one too. People see what we got done today. These little frames, we buy them from Jerry's. They don't give us anything or promoting it, but they are nice little wooden frames. They come in 8 by 10 and 12 by 16, not 9 by 12, which would have been nice. 16 by 20 rather.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not sure
definitely, yeah, look
what
at
the
that.
size. All right, you guys, how did we do with this?
I'm going to get a picture of it.
I think
touch it. Keep your fingers off. Keep your fingers off.
No, I'm going to just,
No.
touch up a few little things.
I just
I
need a
can,
quick
but
snap for my thumbnail.
John's gonna use it for his thumbnail, and then I'm gonna,
Okay, now you can play.
want to do a couple little things. Sometimes you just see it, right? You know what I'm saying? You just see it, and then you know you have to do it.
Okay. All right.
Needed that dark line right there on that boat. Just small things, but it's all small stuff. And I don't think I have, when I have a tiny little brush, I could put a little shadow right here, but not just where his throat goes down right there like that.
You want to give your old John Hancock on that too.
Yeah, we got to sign it. Let's see, where's my gold? Now I suppose you could put, if you were, I didn't do that. I'm just gonna sign it right here. Is that what you're thinking, John,
Where?
or right here or here?
No, left side.
Yep. I'm gonna shake these up to make sure I have it done pretty well. Sometimes you don't get a real white when you're, the Posca pens and the other pens are probably your most white, and you don't have to
The
do all
whitest
that
of white.
much. You just there we go. All right, here we go.
That means it's come to an end. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today for story time.
I appreciate the, I don't know if John had a chance to thank the people that sent in some contributions. But thank you for those of you who did that and like our story time and help us out with that. So we appreciate it very much. Just going to be a little bit smaller on the eye right there. And again, this painting is going to, has been pre-sold. Again, this was not a tutorial, but if you enjoyed watching our show, we appreciate the feedback, and thanks so much for that. The red slash goes through it, and the painting's done. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thanks for all the comments that you do leave. We appreciate them very much. They make a difference. And we love hearing from you. So till next time, and what was the other one we had here? Put them both out.
Yeah.
Let's just put them both out like this. That was the one I started with. Santorini and Greece, and then here's, I don't know, could only do a little bit at a time. I guess you can just see this, but that was these are the two paintings we kind of played with today. Again, you can see how nice these wooden frames are. This one, look how much thicker this one is, the molding on this.
Yeah, it's a big molding.
I like the wide molding. That's just something to think about when you're framing. When you're doing a small painting, a wide molding is really effective. a wide molding really gives some prominence to a painting. Something to think about when you're choosing frames. If you're going to someplace like Hobby Lobby and you're buying a frame, take your picture with you and kind of look. Sometimes they'll have like little 16 by 20 frames, things like that. Anyway, you can take your painting with you. It never hurts. But anyway, those were the 2 paintings that we did today. If you enjoy our story time, check out our other videos. Lots of fun and interesting stories. We hope that you love them. And thanks again for hanging out with us today.
And we'll see you next time.
And see you next time on Storytime.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.